Just let me see this.
Thank you. So welcome everyone to the May 12th meeting, 2022 meeting of the Concord Historical Commission. And because this is a Zoom meeting, we do have to take a roll call vote of who is present. So I will first start. Melissa Salfield's present. Nancy, state your name. And
Nancy Nelson, present.
Bob.
I am.
Bob Gross, here I am.
Alan Magosi. Oh, Alan.
Alan Bogosian, present.
Chessie.
Betsy Cataldo, present.
Michael, can you hear us yet? You can hear us, you can't speak.
But you're muted.
Okay, I will note that Michael Capizzi is present.
I guess you have to take your choice if
You hear me
can
now?
hear us or you're
Yeah.
gonna.
Okay, good. Here we go.
Okay, and then Rebecca.
Rebecca Lematry, present.
Thank you, thank you. So thank you so much. And we do have a guest, but tonight we do not actually have any hearing for a demolition delay, which often is a topic for our meeting. So I think we will go to number one, which is to discuss goals and our projects for the coming year. I have some ideas, but I'd like to open it to the members of the commission first to express what they have in mind. We have successfully, in 2021, we amended the demolition delay bylaw. And then 2022, we, after 40 plus years, got a scenic roads bylaw on the books for Concord. So I think we have a bigger mountain to climb next year. So, I just suggest open it up to what other folks have in mind.
So you're saying you want to do something more next year?
Well, yeah, I think we need to have, we obviously, our routine work is to oversee the demolition delay bylaw.
Yeah.
I can say that we will be working with the development of the rules and regulations for the scenic roads bylaw. Right now, Elizabeth Hughes, the town planner, has forwarded the draft set, which I have seen, to Public Works to get their buy-in first, because that's probably going to be our biggest hurdle. Oh, and
Oh,
we could see her. She's an honorary member,
well, in that same vein,
This shot.
related. Oh my goodness, what a big girl.
She has so much hair. Anyway, Nope, put
I
this
think
in
the
minutes.
commission should really be paying a lot of attention to Concord's roads. And not only that, to what's being proposed in Lincoln there's smart streets, I don't know what, that complete streets kind of concept going on. And the bicycle kind of advocates have presented a town-wide plan with maps and everything showing how they want the streets to function and change. So we should be paying attention to those policies here and what the select board has said about complete streets, which is really good, although I don't have the statement with me now. But I think we need to be paying really close attention to the town roads.
okay. Okay, so I got that, because the scenic road bylaw will require us for the named roads. But
Yeah.
I think, as you point out, in presenting all of that and studying all of that, we certainly came across the complete streets description. But I do understand that from reading it, there are exclusions and we can speak up. I know that there is,
Always speak up.
well, of course, I know that there's something going on in Commonwealth Avenue, West Concord, and I have made a couple phone calls to try and find out a little bit more and heard nothing more. So that is something to stay on top of.
I've heard it described as a complete streets reconstruction.
So I don't know what that means.
So I don't know what that means, and I haven't been able to find anything, but I've also seen reference to it in a couple places, more than just
Okay.
one place.
Okay, so that's one. Others, Chessie, you can speak up, because one of the projects that we will want to be working on is the Historic Resources Master Plan. Chessie, I don't want to speak for you, but I am. So you
Please do.
We have participated in a couple online sessions with the Mass Historical Commission that help local historical commissions develop a historic resources master plan or update it, which is in our case what we need to do. And they have described possible funding sources, as well as kind of helping to identify a proper consultant, which we will need. 20 years ago, it was Ann Forbes. Many of you may know Ann Forbes, but Ann is not interested in doing it this time. She's sort of done with Concord. Plus this project, as we have discussed with Chessie I and Anka Voss, has a major component with technology and digital resources. So that is a project that we do intend to tackle. And Chessie, speak up. I don't want to talk.
No, that's a good summary. Yes, we're just actively gathering the pieces and everything we need to be thinking about from a funding perspective. Heather very helpfully pulled the 2012, all of the materials around the CHC's 2012 application to do the West Concord survey. And I believe Anne, I haven't read it closely yet, but I believe Anne put that application together. It looks incredibly well done. And I think that will be a great resource for us as we start to put pen to paper and think about the scope of what we want to propose.
Yeah. So, and as I mentioned to you, sent to you, Chessie, I have spoken with people in the CPC. There is a precedent that they have funded HSRs. I think that a master plan is more comprehensive and more essential to a community identifying and preserving its historic resources. So I would be kind of shocked if the CPC would not entertain such a proposal.
I'll double check next week unless Heather wants to clarify, but it's sort of
Heather,
like
you can't say no.
No, I think you just have to make a like a good argument on how it fits into the categories in order for it to pass town council's scrutiny.
Yeah.
But I was just going to add that I believe Marcia and Elizabeth have had a very brief discussion about possibly adding funds into the planning budget for this so that the application could, have some sort of matching funds from the planning division budget to go,
wow.
To go with the CPC application to kind of make it a little bit stronger.
Well, that
So
would be
I would just follow up with Marcia and Elizabeth on that when you guys are getting rolling on putting together the application.
It's kind of like a historic structures report for the town. More or less.
major. Well, the other thing, I was hoping that Chessie and I could actually go talk with Jennifer Doherty, because if we work through the MHC, they will give, I think, up to 25,000. I think that's what it was. And they would match a gift. So that's another. So that would be 3 sources of funds: planning division itself, the CPC money, as well as Mass Historical Commission. I mean, I've envisioned this as kind of a length, maybe even a 3-year timeframe. There's a lot of work to do.
And you can see on some of the, when you search the database, you can see how some other towns have done it in phases and proposed to get the funds in phases as well.
Yeah. So, yeah.
And
Rebecca, I'm sorry.
yeah,
Rebecca.
Rebecca, I raised my hand to tell you Rebecca's trying to raise her hand.
Oh, okay.
No, just one other thing that I was thinking would be great to get back to in this next year was that Freedom's Way Hidden Treasures that I had been organizing right before the pandemic. They did do it again this year, so we were sort of too slow. It's actually just launched for this month of May, so we'd have to look at next year, May 2023. But I remember thinking that was going to be such a great way to get our presence out into the community, especially younger families, with a component for families to visit Thoreau Farm and possibly tie in with a craft at the library. And everybody had sounded super excited about it. So I would love to take that on again, aiming towards May 2023.
Great. Because now that the library is fully opened, what a great resource. Nancy.
Rebecca, are you speaking with Patrice Tedesco? about the hidden treasures with Freedom's Way?
No, who had I
She-
spoken to?
She's the
I'm gonna
executive
have to.
director, and
Okay.
I bet she'd be really interested in your interest in the commission's interest. And she's a get things done person. Melissa may have known her when they both worked at City Hall. I don't know, but she's great. She's
Okay.
But yeah, I'm gonna have to go back and remember everybody I was talking with because it was 2 years
Yeah,
ago.
I
So,
know.
but yeah, that would be wonderful.
Yeah.
That's right, because you had it all set to go when we shut down because of COVID. So that would be great. Okay, so that's three big things. The one other thing would be to ask if there's the stomach for a bylaw amendment. The one I was wondering about, we have the list that we developed, that we would require site plans, floor plans, elevations, and photos if found to be preferably preserved, or require that with the application. I suggest that one because of the challenge that we've had getting any documentation from the folks of 1075 Lowell Road. We thought that through a third party, we thought we were on the road to getting the original plans. And the gentleman, Richard Casella, who was hired by the contractor to do this historic documentation report, not an HSR, but what they call the documentation report, was very excited. He thought he was going to get them, and turned out they didn't exist. He actually, I have had many conversations with him. I think he really is the real deal, and he's very genuine trying to get this done. But it's a request on our part. If we required it, that's something very different. So I throw that out for you guys to think about.
I have another thing to think about. Are you done, Melissa?
Well, yeah, but nobody's answered me. What do you think?
Oh, sorry. I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking.
I mean, because we are trying to strengthen the demolition delay bylaw to have some teeth. We've got the year delay now, and that's good, but that, I'm pretty sure most developers can calculate 3 more months or whatever it has ultimately amounts to. But if we required them to, they have to put some more money into it. If they actually have to document the house and it's required,
Mhm.
I don't know, Heather, I look to you. You're about to leave us, so all wisdom that you can shed.
Yeah, I mean, I think that would help make it a bit stronger, in that you always get documentation, no matter what, whether you require it with the application or require it if the finding is preferably preserved.
Ooh,
So I think that's the discussion to have.
It'd be
But I
great
think
to
either option is a good idea.
it'd be great to put it with the application.
Melissa, you could call these death notices.
With the application would definitely be a lot more onerous.
Yeah,
So that may be harder to pass at town meeting. So that's
Yeah.
just a thought.
they could amend it at town meeting.
Well, I wouldn't want to lose it all, but I mean, I think.
I think if somebody's taking down a historical structure, we should put it out there that we're serious about at least maintaining a record of it. And I don't think that's unreasonable. And we can be a little bit flexible in how we describe the documentation that we require.
Well, but we can't be too flexible. I mean, if
No,
we
not
did it as an
too.
amendment, it has to be specific.
A little bit.
Melissa, how about every 2 years or every year, having a public forum in which we do a presentation on the lost buildings of Concord with the documentation that's been provided? I'm serious. And when it's not been provided or been provided inadequately, we show that.
Interesting.
That's because there is someone who has worked kind of on the lost buildings of Concord. Wynn Wilbur, when she was chair of the historical commission about 20 years ago, she started a project of that. I actually was thinking along those lines. Remember, I did think it would have been interesting to have a forum about preservation in Concord.
Mhm.
And what, that was one of my other ideas I have here, that to work with the League of Women Voters, because they have more of the manpower to kind of pull something together like this. That is something I also was thinking
Good idea.
to do. A general topic of preservation in Concord, and maybe one of the topics would be Lost Concord.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I also suggest that you call that preservation from the bottom up? To give the sense, there's a way in which preservation can sometimes be seen as elite houses by, people with means, but that's inaccurate. But calling it preservation from the bottom up can give people the sense of they're part of this from the grassroots.
Interesting.
Okay. Well, Nancy, you had a suggestion, I'm sorry.
It's only to put this on the commission screen. I also am the chair of the Battle Road Scenic Byway, and the Byway Committee is applying for a federal grant in the range of $500,000 to $700,000 maybe. And we'll know relatively quickly, like sometime in 23, I think, whether or not we get that. And one of the categories is resource stewardship. So the Historical Commission, I'll just keep the commission informed, but we should all read Richard Foreman's little booklet about stone walls in Concord. And it would include the ability to fund things like additional post and rail fence, which is traditional, repair of stone walls, landscape clearing where it's become overgrown, because the byway runs from Lexington Road and 2A all the way along Lexington Road into Concord Center, and then all the way out to Barrett's Farm, Colonel Barrett's Farm. So I suspect we'll be interested in that. That's all.
Okay, I'm trying to think where
Don't do anything now because we haven't put the application in yet, so I'll be back.
okay. Other priorities for the year. And I'm going to go back to what I suggested about this idea of the site and the floor plans to consider, because if we did intend to change that, it seems like there's an awful lot of work goes on in the fall to get it ready for town, for the town warrant and all that in the fall. So I just seriously would like to think if you think that's a good idea. I mean, I think it's a good idea if it's preferably preserved. I think it's a little challenging because there are a fair number of houses that come before us that we, the delay, there's not a significant building. So I'd hate to have, I don't want this to be a punishment and costly.
I think there can be a set of guidelines which we would look at for every individual structure.
Yeah.
We have to figure that out.
Heather, are you aware of any other town that requires this?
Not off the top of my head, but I'm sure there are. I would have to.
Okay, well,
Do some
I can send
research.
it on that listserv thing. That's what I'll do.
Well, that's a good idea.
Okay.
Lexington does.
Pardon me?
Lexington does.
It requires this as if they're preferred to do this kind of documentation?
Yeah, let me see if I can find out what their restrictions are. What
Okay. Because remember, our thought was with the demolition delay bylaw that year by year, we would kind of, incrementally improve it. And that's what we've done. Okay, thank you. Any other suggestions for the year? We will continue. This will be a topic on the agenda for forever.
Yeah.
Probably. Okay, well, thank you. So Then moving on to item 2, commission membership. As you see, I think we've looked into that Michael and Alan are due to be reappointed for a term of 3 years. And Rebecca would be, because, well, I should start off that Bob, who has been with us for 6 years, right? It will be stepping down as of town meeting. He has completed his 2 3-year terms, and so he will be stepping down. And with that, his full membership position becomes vacant, and Rebecca is the next person in line to move up to that. So I am proposing to nominate Rebecca for a full membership position. And can I do this all at once? Or do I need to, should I not do this? I should have somebody else do this.
Yeah, someone would need to make a motion to reappoint Alan, reappoint Michael, and then to appoint Rebecca to a full member, all
I'll make that
for
motion.
3-year
Oh,
terms.
all right. I'll make that motion.
And is there a second?
Can we second ourselves?
Second, I'll
No.
second.
Thank you. We'll take Bob's second. Yeah.
Yeah.
So all in favor of Nancy's motion of reappointing Michael, Alan, and appointing Rebecca to a new 3-year term as a full-time member, please say aye, and do a roll call. Nancy,
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
Rebecca,
Aye.
Michael,
I,
Alan. And yes, you don't get to vote yet, but you, sorry, Melissa, aye. Okay, that passes. So that leaves, we now have an open position. And I think Bob has a suggestion.
I nominate Ryan Hanley of Lexington Road.
So we don't know you, Ryan. I do, because Bob has sent me materials about it, but this is your first session with us. And we had also interviewed, well, we had the resumes of 3 other people when we first appointed Chessie to her position. I don't know if we interview you, Bob, tonight and then vote next meeting. Is that proper, Heather?
However you guys want to do it, if you're comfortable voting tonight, you can vote tonight, or you can put it
Okay.
off to the next meeting.
Okay, well, so Ryan,
My frustration is we have at least 2 really qualified, very interested people. And I wish there was some way we could expand the commission, frankly. But I don't know that that's an immediate option, so.
yeah. So because the other 2 people, you remember we have, whose resumes we received was Sophia Ganem and Nancy Frisella Lee. You may recall from 2 or 3 months ago when we voted to appoint Chessie. So I just want to make this fair. So I think I would, speaking personally, I think it would be fair to talk to you, Ryan, ask you to speak about your past and your interest, and perhaps vote next month. I don't know, what do others feel about that? I do.
I think that's fair and equitable. I tend to think that's fair and equitable.
Okay, okay. So with that, Ryan, thank you for attending tonight. Please introduce yourself.
Sure, with great pleasure. But I'll preface this by saying I have no interest in being a queue jumper. If there are people that have been serving on the commission for a long time, I plan on being in this house for a very long time, I can tell you. So
I'm so excited to hear that.
Good, yeah.
no, and just so by way of introduction, we are very new Concordians. We moved here in the past year. I came to take a position at Boston College, and so I'm a historian of political thought, specializing in the 18th century. I focus mostly on Britain and France, but I know something about America as well. Very ironically, I thought I was going to do my PhD in 19th century American literature, and to my great surprise, my first article, which all of my colleagues find very funny, happened to be on Thoreau.
Oh, there
Oh,
you go.
excuse me, Thoreau.
Or
Thoreau.
I can't bring myself yet to do that.
Hey.
I know I must. Bob's corrected me before.
Say thorough as in thoroughly.
Yeah.
That's funny.
I have a, and I have a daughter.
Could we have a resume? I would love to see your resume and your email.
Or I'll subject you to my CV. I mean, you'll see that most of my work is on 18th century Scottish philosophy. So I'm primarily a scholar of Adam Smith and David Hume.
Oh, that's great.
Somewhere around here, there's a Smith medallion. It's on the other side of the room.
Oh, that's great.
But I've become really, I've known about Concord's 18th and 19th century history for a long time. When we thought where we might wish to live, I was attracted to Lexington and Concord for all kinds of reasons. In what my 18th century subjects of study would call, I'm sure, an act of special providence. The Reuben Brown house went on the market right when we were looking for houses.
Yeah.
Most buyers are scared away by the tipping walls and the lean of the angles, but we saw this as just a tremendous opportunity there's no Hanley family fortune. I was amused when the mention was made about elites and keeping up houses. But the little we have, we are very happy to put towards this house. I'm going to write a book about the house. I've been doing it for archival research. It's got 4 centuries of a really remarkable story to tell that also brings in, if you can believe it, the League of Women Voters. So
of course.
I have become a real enthusiast for Concord. I'm also a trail runner as my hobby. So I truly believe that I couldn't have found myself in a more wonderful community. And that was only reaffirmed by going to town meeting, which was a very special.
Oh, you're so, oh boy.
So, I've drank the Kool-Aid and I dearly love this place and this house. And I had the very good fortune of meeting Bob early on. I've just now become, I go through various obsessions, and I'm really deeply obsessed with Concord's history, and every day is an opportunity to learn. So but all of that is a way of saying that I hope to be able to participate in as many things around town as possible. I also know it's a small town, and if somebody else has been waiting for this position for a long time, I can wait. I have too many university committees right now that I'm trying to duck serving on as it is.
I'm so impressed that you really like town meeting. I was too. I was undergraduate political science, and I thought, oh, this is so great. But after the last one, I don't know.
This was nothing. Are you kidding? The days of dear Anna Thompson.
Oh, I remember Anna Thompson.
Oh,
She was wackier than any MAGA person around.
Well, it was important to talk about how much longer the receipts would be at the grocery store if we added 10% deposit.
That is democracy at its finest hour. Well, Ryan, thank you so much.
Great to see you.
I love your enthusiasm, and I think, I have lived here close to 40 years, so, and still not a Concordian, because you're not a Concordian until you're pushing up a daisy or in Sleepy Hollow.
Multi-generational.
But it is a wonderful town, and I welcome you. Thank you. But I feel being a good little D democratic process, or I think we should probably wait till the June meeting to make a vote. Among other things, I'm not entirely sure. The other 2 candidates were very good, but I don't know that they're still interested. I'm not sure about that. So I would like to verify that. So if that's okay, I would suggest we wait till June. I hear there's nodding heads. Okay.
I agree.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I just have a question. I don't know if I have a conflict. One of my daughters has an undergraduate degree at Boston College. So I don't know if that precludes me from voting, but.
Not at all.
One of my daughters is pursuing an undergraduate degree at Boston College.
Excellent.
Okay, so we will table that. So the next thing is discussion and vote on chair, which I will now keep my mouth shut. So you guys have to discuss that.
Well, I just have a question. So Melissa, you are allowed to continue as chair if you were nominated. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So given the fact that you've been very quiet all year, haven't been proactive in anything, maybe this gives you an opportunity to be proactive in something. I'm joking about the scenic road bylaw and everything else that you've worked on. So,
Was that a nomination?
yes,
Well,
I'm
you
nominating.
you are supposed to rotate chairs every year.
Well, you don't
And
need to,
Melissa
though.
has served as chair for the past 2 years,
3.
3 years.
So is that a law? Is it a rule, or is it just?
No.
It's a strongly suggested guideline,
However, it's up to the committee.
Right, it's up to us.
right? If no one else steps up
Eh,
and Melissa still wants
Well-
it, but if Melissa does not want it anymore, I think that's a discussion too.
Well, power really has come to my head.
Melissa, can you
I
actually-
think given what you have started and not completed yet, that.
I beg your pardon.
Well, you still have some things to complete. And you can resign later when those are done. But I think it's important for continuity.
Right.
That's all. And I would second the motion, but maybe it's premature to second.
Melissa, could you say a little bit for other people's information on how many hours a week being chair takes up of your time, so that if anybody were ambitious to want to succeed you, they'd know what they might have as a precedent and challenge?
Well, I mean, it kind of depends on the week and the time of year. I spent, when I was working on behalf of the scenic road bylaw, a lot. I don't know, 10, 15, 20 hours a week, because I was doing research. I was talking to a lot of people about it. I was trying to understand it. I was going to a lot of evening meetings to present it to a lot of different boards and commissions. And then there's, downtime. I will say the biggest challenge I see is that Heather will not be with us,
I know.
frankly. Heather, I depend so much on you, Heather, as you know. It's not news to you. You know it very, very well. And you're hoping to get a replacement for you, and that you can work with that person a little bit before launching him or her on to the scene. So that's something that is concerning. I relied a lot this last year, particularly in the scenic roads bylaw, on Elizabeth Hughes, because she's a town planner and worked a lot with the planning board, and the planning board being the committee that actually enforces the bylaw. So her involvement was critical. Plus, she had worked with it in a former job in Boxborough.
So, case in point, if Heather's gone and you're gone, those are the two people who have the most experience and background on the scenic road bylaw and the regulations and how those need to intersect with, for instance, the Public Works Commission and other entities
Yeah.
in terms of putting those together. So, and not to mention the Route 2A project, which is, hopefully that will be resolved at some point in time in the not too distant future. But
I mean, there really is a lot going on, at least, what's been going on the last 4, 5, 6 months. So, I mean, I hear what Heather said, and it's probably a good idea sometimes to rotate, but I think in this particular case, inertia and momentum are going in the same direction. And so I think that, for the sake of the items on the agenda, for the sake of, where the commission is headed and the success, hopefully in each of the initiatives we've already seen in the scenic road bylaw, hopefully we'll be able to calm down the work on our 2A and upgrade the demolition delay bylaw, et cetera. I think it would make sense to just keep the momentum going in the same direction, unless Heather sees some conflict that is a dichotomy to that statement. I don't know. Is it? Is there?
I mean, I think if the board wants to nominate Melissa and Melissa wants to accept it, I think you move forward with that. And if the select board for some reason, takes an issue with it, then you reconsider at that point.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
I do know that the select board often reappoints people whose terms have expired. For instance, on CPC, at least 2 members had served consecutive terms and were theoretically supposed to go off CPC, but petitioned the select board. I don't think that's required in this case, but they petitioned the select board somehow, and the select board said yes and reappointed them.
Yeah.
They were select board appointees, both of them, as I recall. Heather, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what I think.
Well, one thing I can say that I have 1 more year on the commission. I think you do too, Nancy. This would actually be it. That would be into my 6 years. So end of 2023.
So let's keep it like it is. I'll nominate Melissa. Nancy seconded, so
I
I'll put it up, put it to a vote.
So,
Oh, okay, well then all in favor. Nancy,
I,
Bob,
Aye.
Rebecca,
Aye.
Oh,
Alan. Are you muted? Anyway, Michael.
I,
Okay, I will do it 1 more year.
what about Alan? Did
Alan,
Alan vote?
I think he said
I
yes.
voted. We're gonna be losing 1 superstar. I don't want to lose another superstar. So I said aye.
I know where Bob lives.
no, Heather, you were staying on.
Congratulations, Melissa.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, so,
And I know other people are up and coming, and I'm so happy to see Jesse here and Ryan and the other people who have expressed interest in this commission, partly because of the interest you've generated too, not to mention Bob.
well, I think,
Bob,
I mean,
who brought Rebecca too, I think.
Michael bought Rebecca and Chessie. Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's what that's right. I didn't mean to forget you, Jesse.
I think these historic coffees, reviving that, which was one of the recommendations, of course, in the Envision Concord. I mean, some, like yesterday, we didn't have as large a group as we've had in the past. We only had like 25 people. But the announcement that Simone made about the national park getting $27 million, I have gotten more emails about that because other people didn't know. And because the newspaper does rarely reports on anything in Concord, despite the fact that it's the Concord Journal, people like select board people commented to me. They hadn't heard about it. So that was a big deal.
Oh, also a big deal. Stephen Crane, before he left us, requested consulting party status for the town of Concord for the $27 million that the park is
Oh.
get, because so much of the work is going to be in
In
Concord.
Concord.
So that's another thing. I think the historical commission needs in general to be much more familiar with the Section 106 process. Because we have so much federal money floating around here.
Right. So what you're saying,
Anyway,
he asked that for the town of Concord to be a consulting party?
yeah, I'll send, I actually have a copy. I have a copy of that. I'll send it to Heather and maybe it can be posted.
Okay,
But that could be very interesting, actually. So,
yeah.
anyway.
Oh, well, so anyway, okay, well, thank you all. Thank you very much for your vote. It takes a while to understand what's going on. And by the time you learn what's going on, you're off usually you step down. So, but it is really unfortunate that Heather is leaving us, but I hope you leave us in good hands, whoever your replacement is. Bob?
I have a question.
Yeah, I don't know if this is the time, but I just want to say a couple of things. One, first, to thank you for your just terrific leadership. You've just been spectacular. But also, I wanted to offer just a couple of quick thoughts, which are that I guess I felt that the commission needed to have some meetings to really talk about development in town and philosophies of preservation.
Yeah.
It seems to me that we're always behind the curve. You know, people, I mean, think about the issues that came up before town meeting. You know, a developer does something in the neighborhood is in arms. Some, you know, and we don't have a framework within which we approach these things. And I don't know that there's anything anybody can agree on and set in stone, but I do think the commission would do well to have a meeting or two to really meet with a couple of readings beforehand to try to talk about point of view on these matters.
Well, would you be willing to share? Do you have some thoughts on that additionally? I mean, this is why I was thinking about us partnering with the League of Women Voters, because they take on sort of big things. They have a lot of people. They have a lot more resources, and they don't have the open meeting law.
That's true. Well, you know, the couple of pieces I sent you the links to really crystallize that. Bill McKibben's piece in
Yes.
the Atlantic,
Yeah, I read-
especially his new book, really highlights the way in which preservation can also be discrimination.
Yes. Yes.
And maintaining the character of a neighborhood may mean maintaining a certain demographic character of the neighborhood.
Which, well, I mean, that's a philosophy. I mean, I don't like that.
Yeah. So anyway, it just seems that on the other hand, and you know, there's such a mix of things that we want preferably preserved.
I
And
have to,
we're not a development agency, but it might be helpful for people to share informed perspectives.
Well, can I ask a question? And maybe everybody knows and I don't.
No.
Is there a way to have informal meeting discussions with, let's say, the planning board or whoever, in order to understand how proactive we can be or cannot be, either individually or collectively? Is there a way of doing that? Or the only time we can discuss anything is formally at a meeting?
That's, yeah, but I think you could probably ask to have a joint meeting. It would be a public meeting. as
well,
Well,
if the league hosted a meeting that was just a roundtable for the town,
That's what I was
that-
thinking.
that would kind of open that door.
I mean,
Bob, can you tell me the name of Bill McKibben's book? Because I'm really disturbed to hear historical preservation or environmental preservation played off against
Well,
environmental justice.
Well, so it's if you go to the New Yorker website, I think it's on there. But you can also find, it was extracted from a forthcoming book.
it was an
So
article.
what he does is it's actually just absolutely brilliant. 1971 is remembered in the town of Lexington as the year of the Vietnam veterans encampment, in which the Lexington selected ordered people to leave, and locals as well as Vietnam veterans got themselves arrested. So Lexington was famous for a liberal town. Turns out that same year, the Lexington town meeting with its elected representatives voted in favor of building a concentrated housing project with affordable housing for about 300 people in the Boston area. The selectmen endorsed it, so did the town meeting, but the town meeting can be overridden in Lexington, and a referendum, a 2-to-1 vote, turned down and overturned the vote for the affordable housing, because it would change the character of the town. So there's Lexington, famous for the liberal protests, not so famous for blocking the expansion of housing in a Boston area that's now ever more constricted. And when I read the piece, and my own opinion, it changed my opinion about the thorough Chicho district rezoning. And in any case, nobody has to agree with me on that matter, but his piece does raise powerfully the question of where historic preservation can be in relation to our needs to make affordable housing.
Yeah, and I just have always been very upset by this idea that you have to choose between solid social goals like affordable housing and either historic preservation, or much more commonly, the preservation of open space.
Mhm.
So I really reject that dichotomy. And I
They
don't-
didn't in Lexington in 1970.
well, we need to know a little bit more about that, maybe. It may have been just way, way, way too much. I don't know, but that's, anyway, it's in.
Sure. All I know is the one piece I read.
Sorry, excuse me.
Anyway, I just want to say, it's been, great privilege and pleasure to serve on the commission. And,
Well, we will miss you, Bob.
thank you.
So I hope that you don't stray too far.
You should have a
Chicken in
party.
his house.
Okay, well,
Have a party.
thank you. So if you guys are sort of amenable to me exploring this thing with the league, I think I might, because, it fits within their stated goals. Their annual meeting here in Concord is June 1st. And I thought I would go and kind of scope out their interest in something like this, because it does touches on housing affordability. What does it mean to preserve? What is preservation in Concord? And remember, one of our goals or one of our challenges was supposed to define what is the Concord character. We skipped over that because it's an awfully difficult thing to define. So, okay, so thank you. Well, let's move on to the next item is the Heather sent out. It was on the documents to this meeting on the Emerson Hospital, AT&T,
Yeah,
to modifications to an existing telecommunications facility. I'm gathering, Heather, we just have to comment whether or not it requires anything from the Historical Commission. Because it's an existing facility, it got approved before. My only recollection is that I thought the hospital was built on a famous clamshell collection of Native Americans from, is that right, Bob? You would know probably.
I'm not sure.
So you're not, but that's all I know, but
This is just addition to what's on top of the roof as I was seeing it in the plans.
Yeah, it's just like a change to the existing layout of the antennas on top of the roof. I don't have any issues with it. I just didn't want to respond on behalf of the
Yeah.
commission
Okay.
without.
It's probably a little more dominant, but that much.
No, I assume that's just fine. So, okay, so do we need a vote?
It's not, as long as everyone has no issues, I can just say we have no comment.
Okay, no comment. Okay, thank you, no comment. So the DOT Route 2A project, Nancy, you have comments, a report. I'll just start by saying that, as you know, their last 2 or 3, I don't know, months ago, we formally sent a letter back to them and have not heard from them since then. What they did send back, you got a copy of in your current meeting documents, and it was not to us, it was to the superintendent, Minuteman National Historical Park, and we were CC'd. But I thought that was a rather inadequate response. So they still have not responded to our letter which spelled out a lot of issues that we had with the plans. And we had some suggestions. Thank you to Nancy, because Nancy was the principal writer of the letter. So Nancy, what next do you suggest?
Well, I would just say that right now we are waiting for Mass Highway to sort of get its act together and give us something different than what was represented about the project in their 100% plans that were sent along, I think, wait a minute, I should know this by heart. In January of 2022. So I know that they've been thinking about the comments that they've been receiving. I also know that they've been speaking, it seems that they have been speaking independently with the national park. The letter was addressed to the national park. We were CC'd along with other consulting parties, which I don't think is in the spirit of the law. But Melissa wrote in March 17th in 2022, thanking them for organizing the Section 106 Consulting Parties meeting and saying that the Historical Commission would submit comments, which we did. And her message also asked about next steps in the consultation process and how disagreements would be resolved should consulting parties disagree with Mass Highways and Federal Highways decisions about the Route 2A project. So the response back to Melissa was very quick. And he said he and the FHWA person would discuss it and get back to her. Well, that was in March, around March 17th. In April 5th, she wrote again, asked about next steps and how disagreements would be resolved. She noted the Concord Select Board voted to support the Historical Commission's March 28th letter. Jeffrey Shripton, the headquarters cultural resources guy, replied that the District 4 people were preparing a letter for the consulting parties and importantly said renderings would accompany that letter. Well, this is the letter we were CC'd on, and there were no renderings. So we have nothing beyond what was submitted in January of 2022 to go on. This process has been so inadequate, but I think it's now time that a more formal letter go from the Historical Commission to Mass DOT. That's nice. We could say that we're not experts, but we deserve an answer, especially given that the process for this project has been so, to put it nicely, atypical. So I just think I would recommend that to preserve the commission's sort of not yet recognized importance, we should write a more formal letter asking the same questions that we started asking in March.
Okay, Michael.
I have a statement. As some of you know, I did work in the public sector, and I was Director of Public and Community Affairs at the Turnpike Authority for 3 years. So I just have a question, and again, this is what I referenced earlier, to understand what we can do, what we can't do, whatever. Why doesn't either the Planning Board or the Historical Commission invite the DOT to join our meeting, our next meeting, so we can ask questions and get answers from them verbally on the record, and it's recorded. This is not that complicated. They are required by tens of rules to, if something, a project of this magnitude or even a smaller project, if they're invited to join and answer questions or respond, they will certainly, join our meeting here, and we can ask questions and have them on the record.
If you've mentioned that before, I missed it, but I think.
I mentioned it. I mentioned it about 4 months ago. Why
Okay,
don't we invite them to the meeting and let's get some answers?
well, I think that's a great idea, and two things. I do think we need to send a letter back, Nancy, but I don't see why I don't just write him an email tomorrow, like I've written him before, and say, no, don't write an email.
A formal letter with copies to people that matter,
Yes.
like to the
Okay.
advisory council.
Okay, well, then I would like to do that and start working on that ASAP to Shrimpton.
Mhm.
And I guess
Cassandra Ostrander from
on the FH Federal Highways, asking for a response and also inviting them to our June meeting.
Yes.
I think that would be great because I think there's no doubt that some of the more grandiose plans for Route 2A are still out there. And in fact, we had one response back to the Scenic Byway Committee that said as soon as construction was underway on the current project, they would start scoping the larger things that had been in discussion. You know, they've declared the fact that this is not a two-phase project, but there is I believe there will be a follow-on
Yeah.
project.
Oh, no, they insist it's a one-phase project.
Yeah, but that doesn't preclude a second project that would include those same things that they talked about earlier.
They just define
So
it.
I think it's important that we
Okay.
get the information we requested originally, because that will help us know what we see next time, and for them to come and get to know us, they'll like us.
Okay, so that's what we'll
Melissa,
do. So Nancy, you and I can start working on.
Bob's raising
I'm
his
sorry,
hand.
Bob?
I just wondered, when do these issues ever become matters to talk about with our state rep or state senator?
We
Well-
have reached out to all of them.
They did.
We met with the representative from, God, Nancy. Well,
Lori Trahan's
yeah,
office.
Lori Trahan's office met
Right.
with us.
She
And so-
initially took the lead.
Yeah, and also connected with Catherine Clark's office and Senator Michael Barrett's office. So
And Markey's office also.
we have CC'd them. One of the letters I wrote, I sent to our entire congressional delegation,
What about the state house and you?
State House and federal.
The governor got
And-
it, and the man who's head of the Massachusetts Highway Department within Department of Transportation did respond with a very, here's the project, here's what we want to do, here's what it includes, this is why we're doing it, thank you very much for your interest, kind of letter, you know. So they did get the information and the concern, and they did respond, but they are saying that that they're trying now to make the process right. And there's no way to involve historical commissions at the 100% plan point and have the process be totally right. So I think for the future, this is an important letter to write.
So, okay, well, we will do that. Michael, I think that's great. I think.
And
I'll be
then can I
really
add
interested
something?
in-
Can I
Yeah.
add something? The other thing I would do is if in fact they say yes, so-and-so or two people are going to join us, I would then reach out to Minuteman Park and other
Participate.
entities, other stakeholders or entities that are as concerned as we are, and invite them to the meeting so that collectively they can ask their questions, so we can have this, on a public record, and we're, we explain, clarify, and increase understanding of what's been done, where we're at, where we're going. And this way we understand if there's something we can do or something we can reach out to someone, what they can do, we can do it. If not, construction is going to begin, and then we're all going to be looking and say, okay, look, geez,
Yeah,
we don't like those yellow signs and lights and raised, elevated, islands, et
Crosswalks.
cetera.
And sidewalks to nowhere.
Right.
so
Okay,
students-
okay, we
The
have a
students
plan.
who-
Okay, I think that's a great idea.
Right.
Thank you. So we will do that.
is there agreement? There's
We need a
agreement.
vote?
right?
I don't think we need, do we
We
need a
don't need a
vote?
vote, but we get a consensus of the meeting, sort of.
Alan, what do you think, Alan?
I think it's a great idea, and then we can, like you say, reach out to other towns as well.
Yeah.
We just won't invite Lincoln
Right. Not invite Lincoln, right.
because we know Lincoln likes the crosswalks and they want,
Right.
I want to say this, that it may be the it may be the planning department and the town manager's office, but I've spoken to at least 10 or 15 people over the last 3 months who know they've never heard of the project,
Yeah,
don't know about the project, and they had no insight into anything. And they all go to 2A to go to the, recycling, et cetera.
well, I know the Historical Society is not comfortable with the
Right.
project,
Right.
so.
Right.
But anyway, okay, great, thank you.
okay, so we will move on that. Thank you.
I'll be quiet.
Then the next item, do folks have anything to comment from their observer assignments? Any of you? Nancy? Public Works?
I think I already said it. I think we all need to be paying attention to what's going on with roads. And I'm getting to know those guys a little bit, which I think is a really good thing. But there's a committee now that's the Transportation Advisory Commission.
Yes, that's,
And we need to know a lot more about complete streets. So we should keep an eye on what's happening at Hubbard Street. I think Hubbard Street should be interesting. Sometimes the complete streets concepts are very good and they're appropriate where they are. We don't know yet what the complete streets reconstruction is for Commonwealth Avenue, but I think we should try to find out.
Yep.
So the Transportation Advisory Committee, I could find no minutes for them since January of 22, and they've had 6 meetings since. And they have a subcommittee that's called the Bicycle Subcommittee Agenda. So there were no minutes there either. But I do know also that Lincoln's bicycle community has made a master plan for Lincoln that shows all the changes and improvements to Lincoln streets for the entire town. So I think we should be aware that there may be something afoot in Concord. And we should be informed because could be good, could be,
yeah.
who knows?
Any other comments?
I think I was off a couple of months due to some issues, and I was not assigned to any entity. So when I don't speak, it isn't that I haven't observed anything. I thought somebody was going to look at, what committees might need observers.
Well,
Rebecca Ron.
Oh, good. Oh, good. Good.
so, well, I actually, well, Michael, you might want to just take a look at all the list of committees, because we've got a lot of them. The ones that we have kind of, Alan overlooks on the HDC.
Right.
Wait for that. Yeah.
I kind of do the planning board, which I have a little bit to report on. Nancy does, well, because she's on the community preservation as well as public works.
Right.
Rebecca was observing the economic vitality and the Concord together, which is joint kind of the
Business.
similar business
Right.
economic development. And that's kind of what we've got. So there are others, or even these. I mean, I think as Nancy pointed, the planning board meets twice a month. They have a lot going on. The public works meets monthly, but the meetings are endless and they take on an awful lot of work.
No, they're long. They're long
They're very long.
and detailed.
So,
And
but-
we're, I don't want to speak for anybody. I'm happy to observe any committee that you need to be observed, if in fact I knew which ones you would like me to
Like
observe.
the
Well-
Transportation Advisory.
well, yeah, that Nick Pappas. So it is a ad hoc committee that was created, I don't know, a few years ago to look
Oh, yeah.
into, oversee what the town may want to do in terms of transportation access. I met before them 2 or 3 times for the scenic roads bylaw. I thought it was a tough crowd. Mr. Pappas is an avid bicyclist, so he's very keen on bicycle access throughout the community. I don't recall, I think they meet on Monday evenings. It's in the, on the town website.
Okay.
So
This is Rebecca. Can you guys hear me? Sorry, I had to get in my car.
Is that Rebecca? It sounds like.
yeah, it's hard to hear you, Rebecca.
Oh, sorry, I had to get in my car. So,
She has to get in her car.
but I was gonna say, I have a hard time making the economic vitality meetings. It's not a time that works well for me.
Okay.
If Michael wants to take that on.
Do whatever. Who do we just talk to you, Melissa, or about?
You just you just do this. You just Zoom.
Okay,
Most of
good.
the meetings are through Zoom.
Great. Okay.
And
The select board, every agenda that the select board has a list of committees that need members, but it's a whole list of all our committees. That's
Well, but you can also just. go
obviously
on
it's on the website too.
It's on the
We
website.
want to observe committees that by the information would benefit our, I guess, our mission, right?
Yeah.
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 Is that right, Heather? Is that correct? Okay.
Yeah. So we started doing this,
Right.
I don't know, 5 or 6, 7, 8 years ago, trying to, members of the commission take on observing a committee that they were interested in, but also had some relationship to preservation or historic properties within the town.
Right.
So I think it's your choice.
I will obviously tomorrow send you, Heather and you an email.
Oh, there we go.
What's going on? Okay,
Heather.
good. Heather and you, I'll email, I'll look at reference committees
Yeah.
and do whatever I can.
I mean, there's so much.
I know.
I remember in Bob Gross's The Minutemen and Their World, I think, Bob, there was a little line about Concord being infamous for its committees even before the revolution.
Yes.
Is that right? It really, something
Something
like,
like that, yes.
yeah, it really
Um,
struck me.
The other thing I remember writing was that town meeting would postpone votes on things and defer them for so long that when they finally got around to it, people would say, didn't we pass that years ago?
Oh, dear. There's a strategy.
Well, so needless to say, Michael, there is a lot,
I'll
there's
take
a
it.
lot.
Okay, I'll look
Um,
at them and then I'll communicate. We'll be in touch.
Okay,
Tomorrow and going forward. Thank you.
okay. So I was just gonna say that in the planning board, they're looking into 2 new developments. One of which I think is on Sunnyside Lane, which is off Losbrook Road, and that was the site of one of the houses that I think that was taken down. They, I believe Nancy, I think you might have been the person, you and Heather went to look at it, and it was not perfectly preserved. But so every time I see a new development in Concord, I wince. The other one is off of 117 and it kind of near the Sudbury line.
Right.
New housing
I
near
saw it.
wetlands.
Oh, is it at the corner there with Michael's Restaurant? Are you talking
Well,
about?
that's that 117. It's down the road. Yeah,
You're talking about that
yeah.
because that's in Sudbury.
But part of it is actually in Concord and some of it is being developed in Concord as well.
Oh, okay.
There's some challenges, issues about whether or not police and fire can get to it. At any rate,
Okay.
Right.
I would always like to see just land left alone and preserved for the birds and the, flowers and weeds.
There you go. We have to read Bill McKibben's book.
Yeah. I know. Okay, so if there is no other, I think we should vote on approving the minutes of April 14th and April 25th. April 25th was that very short meeting that we approved the Wright Tavern preservation restriction. Would anybody care to make a motion to approve the minutes of April 14th?
Can I make a motion to approve? Go ahead. April 14th.
Yes, Nancy, a second?
I second.
I second.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? Um,
I,
Do I have to get a roll call on 2, Heather? Do I have to call out people's names?
Everyone can just say aye at the same time.
Please say aye at the same time.
Uh,
I,
Aye.
Okay, then may I have a motion to approve the minutes of April 25th, 2022?
so moved.
Second,
Second.
thank you. All in favor, please say aye at the same time.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Heather, I love your minutes. I absolutely love your minutes.
Thanks.
Heather, this is not your last meeting, is that correct?
It is
It is.
my last historical commission meeting, not my last
No, I
meeting.
know, this is your last. historical committee.
So, oh my gosh, Heather, this is really going to be very difficult without you.
Yeah.
Ryan, you
Tell
don't
her that. Tell
understand.
her-
You're
tell her.
losing a really important person.
She'll be back.
She's gaining a daughter. So,
Yes.
so do you don't have any report on your replacement yet? Is hiring imminent?
I believe so. I don't know how much I'm allowed to speak on it yet.
Okay,
We'll be in touch with Marcia.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, okay. Well, it has been a real pleasure, Heather, working with you all these past years. And
Absolutely.
you mispromised to come back to Concord. Come back to work, you have to come here.
We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. I don't know if I'll come back to local government or if I'm going to try private sector. I think it depends on, evening schedules with kids' activities and
Right,
stuff.
right.
And I don't know how I will be able to do like 2 night meetings a week with all
No.
those activities, but we'll see.
Anyway,
Keep us informed anyway of
yeah,
how
baby
it's turning
progress.
out and pictures and all that.
I will.
Okay. All right.
Thank you very, very much. Well, good night, everybody. This meeting is adjourned. Bye, Heather.
Yeah, I'll see you later.
Thank you so
Bye,
much.
everyone.
Okay,
Bye.
bye-bye. Good night, everybody.
Right.
Right.